right. Good evening, everyone. So tonight we're going to talk about quality improvement exercises and stuff that's coming up with our Illinois EDDI program, and then some changes that are going to be taking place within Guide by Your Side. So I know we went over this last month, but I just want to make sure everyone's aware. Today, the Parent Achievement recipient was chosen, and that is Michelle. I'm going to mess up her last name, and I'm going to have to practice it before next week. Temesland from Springfield. So she is the owner of District 23. She is the owner, coordinator of, now I can't think of it.
Cochlear Implant Awareness.
Thank you. Cochlear Implant Awareness Foundation, yes. And if you don't know about yes, then make sure you find out about it, because it's a great for folks that can't afford replacement pieces for cochlear implants and such. Her foundation provides that free of charge. So I don't know what the parameters are for qualifying. I don't know if there are qualifications, but definitely a great resource for you to know about for your families and for personally possibly too. So I'll be providing that award to Michelle next week. And if you didn't know from last week's announcements that went out, Jacqueline was also nominated. So yay, Jacqueline. So that's what's going on there. March 4th and 5th is the Illinois Teachers of the Deaf and Hard of Hearing Conference. And the 4th, Anita is going to cover, and then the 5th, Melissa is going to cover. And then the 5th leads into the Mom's Night In weekend in Springfield. So coming up quick. Please encourage attendance. We do have participants. We don't have as many as Andrea would like. So please, please, please check with your friends and see if they've RSVP'd yet. And then April 23rd and 24th, Mom's Night In North. And then I'm just going to go over in a little bit the incentives that we had for Mom's Night In again, just in case you missed it last month. Let's see. May 21st is our walk in Springfield. So again, save the date if you can to join us and talk it up. We do have our walk call tomorrow night at 9 p.m. It is a whole committee call. All right, March 12th through the 15th, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be in San Diego. If you do need me, just text me or call me on my cell. Don't call the Guide by Your Side cell. I will not be bringing that with me, okay? But Andrea and I will be attending, and Melissa Joyce will be attending the EDDI conference out there. So as beautiful as the picture looks, I don't know how much of that we're going to get to see. But we'll be coming back, I'm sure, with news and maybe some projects that will be available if you'd like to participate in them. All right. I'm hoping that all of you have yourself on mute. I'm getting some messages that there's some background noise. So hopefully I'm the only one that is not muted, and the rest of you are. And if you aren't, if you could, that'd be great, so we could get a nice, clean recording. Okay, so just a reminder, Mom's Night In Central and North, and then the bonus, if you guys want to attend for a reduced fee, there's the ability to do that. If you have one family register for Mom's Night In, you can go have a shared room for $75. 2 families, your shared room would only cost you $55. 3 families, shared room only costs you $35. And if you have 4 families register for Mom's Night In, you can go for free. Please, please, please encourage families to go. At the beginning of Mom's Night In Central is the Illinois Teachers Deaf and Hard of Hearing Conference. And the morning of that Saturday, they are opening it up with some tracks that are parent-friendly, I guess is one way to put it. So encourage families before Mom's Night In starts to spend the morning attending the conference. It's only $25 for that morning. That includes lunch. So it's a really great bargain. All right, again, the walk, just reiterating who's on what committees. I really want you guys to participate and make sure that you're participating in your chair calls and the whole committee calls. The whole committee call is just a great way to get a brief update from each of the subcommittees to keep us all on track and to help us know what overall is happening outside of our subcommittee that you're participating on. Remember that there are LRP points if you participate on a committee or if you're helping and assisting with this event. And I didn't change the date. Sorry, guys. So the next whole committee is not 20th. It is tomorrow night, the 17th. All right, so FEO days. There are 4 FEO dates planned and coming up quick. One is next week in Orland Park, and then we have the 3 in March. These are all free. However, these events are costing us money. We did have to limit participation. So as you can see, each event, there's a limit of how many can participate. So please share and encourage families to RSVP sooner than later so that they can make sure that they are able to get in on that. So let's just quickly go through. Eva, how many RSVPs do you have so far?
Right now, I believe I have a definite 9, possibly 11.
Okay. And then Jacqueline and Lucy for Lake Zurich?
We have 11.
Okay. I wonder if it's the same 11 going around. They're really enjoying their winter months here. All right, let's see. Who's next? Eliza, how many do you have?
I have 10 kiddos right now, and I should have 2 or 3 more by the end of the week.
Excellent. And I'll do another push on Facebook and an email blast, too. So maybe we'll get a little bit more. And then for Kristen?
What about my name? I only have 5 so far, so tell your other people to come to mine.
Sounds good. Excellent. So at least we have participants RSVP. That's great. So the event will happen, and hopefully we'll get some more folks calling up and claiming their spot. All right. So outreach. I'm going to let Kristen here have the floor in just a minute, but last month we touched on some outreach opportunities, and Kristen and I have worked together to kind of create some contacts and a list of who we would think would be a good potential outreach. And so I'm looking, you know, in the $20 outreaches, I think we had about 26 left. Now, some of those have been assigned or possibly assigned, and the $40 outreach is about 10. Now, I don't know if Kristen filled those slots or not. Kristen, I'll turn it over to you. You can have a few minutes here to kind of give an update of where we're at.
Okay, hi, this is Kristen. And I actually sent out an email to those of you who were interested in outreaches to fulfill all of the $20 outreaches. So we should be, if everybody is able to commit to the ones that we were assigned today, we should be good on the $20 outreaches, which leaves the $40 outreaches. And Carrie and I had talked about reaching out to some of the county health departments. And so we do have contact information for those health departments. If you are interested, please contact me We were looking at those to be the $40 outreaches to, drop off materials, maybe possibly get in there to do a presentation. But again, we do have that contact information, so if you are interested in helping us out, please let me know as soon as possible. And if there's anything that you do complete, please make sure that you get the outreach forms to Carrie and that you bill those on your timesheet so that we can count those. And they have to be done by April 1st, which is huge. So anything that's done after April 1st, we will look at for the next calendar year, which is fine. If you do talk to somebody and they can't, fulfill any type of a presentation until after April 1st, that's great. We can use it for next year, but we do need to fulfill all of the outreaches for this year by April 1st. So if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to Carrie.
Thanks, Kristen. And if you, like Kristen mentioned, if you interested in doing outreaches but didn't speak up during our last meeting, please feel free to reach out to her and let her know that you'd be willing to take some on. It's never too late. All right, so hiring. I alluded to this last month, and after talking to y'all, we are looking to fill in a couple areas of the state. I've marked them, and I don't know if you can see within the colored regions there, one being Cook, the brown area, 2 being turquoise, which is Kane, Kendall, and DuPage, and then 3, the very large orange area on the west end of the state. So if somebody submits their application from another area, I will accept it, but I most likely won't be calling them and setting up any time for a possible interview. But that's what we're looking at. What our timeline's looking like so far. April 4th in the evening, I'll hold an informational webinar to share what the position's about, more about the program, so forth. I highly recommend, if you know of anyone that is going to apply, I highly recommend them to participate in that call. It will only help them during their interview. April 18th, the call for applications ends. And then the last week there of April, the 25th to the 29th, is when we would be doing reference checks and potentially hiring individuals. And then May through June, they would do their pre-training modules, and then June joining us at the annual training in normal. So that's what we're looking at there. If you have any questions or if you know of anyone that would be interested, please don't hesitate to send them my way. I do have to alter the application a little bit, but once I have that finished, then I can send it out to anyone that's interested. All right, so here's some news. Last month, or actually beginning of this month, all blur, our Hands of Voices board voted on potentially looking at switching the contract for God by Your Side over to Hands of Voices. So that would mean that Hands of Voices would be the fiscal agent for God by Your Side after April 1st. It would mean your paychecks would come from Hands of Voices and not Annixter. All right? Right now, Annixter is our fiscal agent. So the vote was unanimous to start exploring that, and we have been, Andrea and I have been talking quite a bit on what that would look like. That same meeting, we voted for Jeannie, the treasurer, for Hands and Voices, and with the potential for her to get paid a few hours a month
with our paychecks and so forth. So she's exploring what that looks like and all that kind of goodness. If we would still be able to continue to do direct deposit, or if we would actually have to write checks and mail them out. So with that being said, this would be a huge move for us, and it's exactly what headquarters wants from us. Headquarters want Guide by Your Side chapter completely housed within Hands and Voices. They really discourage the way we've been doing it. So this is a good move. It's a positive move, but it does mean that we'll have to change some things, and we might be figuring some stuff out as we go that maybe we didn't think of before the switch happened. So with that being said, there's some rules that you probably weren't aware of, and I just thought I'd point those out. If you do end up talking to anyone at National or corresponding with them, I would just want you to be doing it correctly. And one of those things is in your email signature. You would always, instead of putting Guide by Your Side Parent Guide, you would put Illinois Hands and Voices, comma, Guide by Your Side Parent Guide or whatnot. You always use the term Hands and Voices with Guide by Your Side. And the logo, so that was one of our pre-test questions. And you might think it sounds silly, but it is one of their rules from National. The Hands and Voices logo does have to be bigger than the Guide by Your Side logo. So that being said, it's just kind of like that mama bear and baby bear kind of thing. And if you didn't know, our colors are blue and orange, more of a navy. But so again, just keeping those things in mind when we make flyers and so forth. Most of that I do, but just in case, now you know. So with the contract potentially moving April 1st, that would mean business cards would be would have incorrect information, and that information would be primarily the logo on the back. We would, it has the Choices logo on there, and then your email address with annexer would be non-existent after April 1. So we would need to, if you utilize your business cards, we would need to either adjust the area on the front with your new email address. You can, cross it out and put your new one. Or, we could order more business cards. Andrea and I talked about that. And I know for me personally, I don't use my business cards that often. A lot of times when you're corresponding with somebody, if you're there in person, you just plug their name and number into your phone. And same thing with emails, you collect their information that way. So if you feel strongly and would want more business cards with the correct information, let me know and we can see if we can work it into the budget. Otherwise, we can make changes. The brochures also will have, the P.O. box on the back, and the logo on the back and whatnot, so we will have to look at either covering that up with a label or reprinting brochures. So all that is kind of in the works. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, or maybe something that you think I haven't thought of, I would love to hear from you. Please don't hesitate. But that is probably our biggest thing right now, is that's what we're looking at doing. We've started the discussions, Carla, and we are going to continue those discussions within the next 2 weeks. So that's that. Any questions? All right, I will move ahead. So QI stands for quality improvement. Essentially, you want to create small tests of change. So thinking that you're going to test something in a small set, a short time period, evaluate that test, adapt it, and then test again. And so this is a really big philosophy for the feds that fund our EDI program, in which they create the contract with us for Guide by Your Side. So we've been asked for the team to watch some quality improvement that talk about the quality improvement process, and then the Universal Newborn Hearing Screening Training Curriculum. And then at our next team meeting on March 22nd, again 9 p.m., we will be discussing quality improvement strategies and so forth, but we also will be meeting with our Illinois EDI partners. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But from there, they want the whole team to know about quality improvement and understand the quality improvement process, but then they ask for 2 guides to be part of a team to give that parent perspective on some projects that they're currently working on. So Melissa and Kristen are going to be participating at that next level, and then they'll update our team periodically of what's going on and maybe ask for some feedback too. So I'll be sending you the links for the quality improvement training videos and the newborn screening curriculum and so forth in the next couple days. I do need you to watch those before 22nd, and those will be paid training. And all of that will come through in an email from me, exactly how much to bill for, how to bill it, and so forth. Okay? So with some of the changes in this quality improvement initiative, they've asked me to adapt our intake form a little bit. And so we will be adding, I know when I ask families if it's okay to text, I just write it down. I will actually add a formal box that can be checked. Sorry, guys. They also have asked for amplification start date and the name of the audiologist who initially fit that first amplification device. So I'll be adding that. We do have a start date currently on there, but I want to make sure that it makes sense. Audiologists, they want to know, again, the diagnosing audiologist, so who is the one that confirmed the hearing loss, and then who is the audiologist that they're currently working with. And the last thing that they would like is the IFSP start date. And perhaps you're a little far removed from early intervention. If you don't remember, IFSP stands for Individual Family Service Plan. So they would like to know what that date was. When did they start receiving services or start that discussion with early intervention? And those things are important because it allows our Illinois EDI program to kind of backtrack on families and figure out, okay, they started early intervention at months, but it wasn't reported, at all. So they have a hole in their data. Or maybe it was same thing with diagnosing audiologists. If, Mary Beth diagnosed the child, but she didn't report it, then they need to know that they got to go back and talk to Mary Beth and make sure that she's reporting correctly. So Melissa had asked about an IEP start date. My only thought was that typically an IEP start date would be on their 3rd birthday, unless, of course, you have a late diagnosis or whatnot. And I think that by that age, it's not as much of an interest to our EDI program as it is younger, if that makes sense. So they haven't brought it up yet. If they do, I'll make sure you guys know, and I'll get it on the form. Any other suggestions? That was a great idea. All right. If there's anything that you think would be helpful for me to ask a family when we do an intake, please let me know, because if I'm going to be altering the form, I'll done it once. All right, so talking about quality improvement and small touches of change, they have asked me for you to complete a small exercise before March 15th, and that would be to contact 3 of your families that you work with. Now, please make sure that these families have a child that has been born between the year 2014 and today's current date, or the date that you call, okay? So we only want kids a couple years old. And then what you will be asking is for their amplification start date, and then again the name of the audiologist who had given them their first pair of hearing aids, the audiologist who diagnosed their child, and that date, hopefully, you know, just confirming, because I asked for that date of diagnosis, but just confirm that. And then who's their current audiologist, the IFSC start date. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this so you don't have to be taking notes like crazy right now. I will send you as well as the spreadsheet with these questions. What you need to do is ask 3. We're going to start somewhere. Okay? And ask the 3 these questions. You can ask them and just explain to them that you're working at improving services in Illinois. You've been asked to gather some data, help make sure that the services are provided in the correct timeline. And I don't know if, you know, how familiar you guys are or how much you remember, but the goal set by the feds is that it's 136. So, you know, there's a screening done by 1 month of age. There is a diagnosis by 3 months of age, and then enrollment in early intervention by 6 months of age. So with that being said, they want to make sure that we're hitting those. Fortunately, the data that they get back from providers has holes in it. So any which way we can help fill that in and help them improve the services in the state. And more than likely, the family that you talk to, once you're talking to them that you're trying to improve the services in the state, they'll be willing to give you that information. Any questions on that part of this slide? I see that a question was asked. Sorry, let me just finish this one thought. Some families will tell you when they started their hearing aid and then when they started maybe their cochlear implant. You can jot both of those down, that's fine. I don't think that they would need that cochlear implant information, but it won't hurt. So that was a good question. Anyone else?
Terry, it's Eva. Thinking back to Eva.
Yeah.
So going back to the other slide about the other questions to ask them, when we're asking about the audiologist that was diagnosing or fitting, could we ask if the audiologist ever mentioned guide by your side?
You know what? That sounds like a great question. That would be wonderful. Because I think then at that point, when we have that, then we would probably, you know, kind of have like a small database of audiologists who are not really mentioning us at that point, and I think that would be a great outreach person to do. Yes, that would. That's a really good point, and I'll add that to the spreadsheet. Excellent. And then that's another good point with these calls. Not only is it benefiting our EDI program with additional data that they need, but it could help our program in helping us look at future potential outreach opportunities and maybe some audiologists that are not the typical ones. So, and interestingly enough, I had a conversation with Isha and Ginger today, and we were talking about audiologists and poor reporters. And I had said to them, I said, well, you know, if you gave us a list of, you know, some of your big offenders in the state, you know, I can reach out to the team and see if any of them use them personally. And then maybe when they're there for an audiologist checkup, they can, you know, mention something to the fact of reporting. And it was interesting because Lurie is one of the ones that is a poor reporter. And so we talked about that a little bit more. But essentially what they need is they need the initial, they need to know every time a child is tested before diagnosis, if that makes sense. So all those have to be reported. And many providers are only reporting the first time and not the follow-up. So that is one of the issues that they're finding. So the bottom half there is Parent Institute. Let's see. If you haven't participated in Parent Institute, we have never had the opportunity to participate, but haven't. I would hope that you talk to somebody that has, because supposedly it's an amazing experience. They really would like the child to be a year, 5 years old by this June when they participate. They say that sometimes under a year it's a little bit more difficult, not as beneficial. But they were asking if each of one of you invited 2 families to participate in Parent Institute and gave them the information, then that would fill up the Parent Institute spot. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Please try to just reach out to tell them if you've had a personal experience, maybe sharing that personal experience so they understand. You know, again, it's a great way to connect, meet others, and learn a whole heck of a lot. So Alicia Becker at DSCC, she is the one that arranges for registration for Parent Institute. So her phone number is there on the slide. Ask them to contact her. Or if you feel that the family might not follow through, you can always offer if it would be okay for you to give Alicia their name and information, and if it would, you can contact Alicia and give that to her. There is a Parent Institute brochure on the Illinois Sound Beginnings website. You can locate that there. Let me jot myself a note here to send you the link to that, because I'm sure it's probably not right up front, so that you guys will have that. Also in the newsletter, I'm just wrapping up the Spanish part of the newsletter. When that comes out, there will be a postcard ad in it for Parent Institute as well. So that's that one. Aha. So we're rounding up the end of the presentation, and I wanted to just let you guys know next month's team meeting, again, the date is not our typical third Tuesday of the month. It's going to be the week after, because I'll still be coming home from San Diego. So March 22nd at 9, just make sure you note the change. And again, Isha and Ginger will be on the call. Isha is Eddie at DSCC, and Ginger is Eddie with Public Health. And again, these guys are a large force for us. They provide the contract for us to keep doing what we do. So we want to make sure that we're available on the call. We want to make sure that we're participating and that we're respectful of them and their time. And so it's come up in conversation that there may be some confusion about what the organization's ACC, public health, and the overall EDI program for Illinois. We're a little unusual in Illinois because our EDI program is split between these two organizations. It's not typical, and I think that makes it just a little bit more confusing. So they had asked me to speak with you guys and get some questions from you. What do you want to know? What do you want them to answer next month for you? So if we could just take a couple minutes to, shout out some of the questions that you might have, I can bring to their attention, and then they can have that prepared to share with you next month.
Hi, Carrie. This is Kristen.
Hey, Kristen.
I was thinking maybe if they could just even come up with a couple of bullet points for each organization, like their main duties or the main things that they do. So, it's just a quick reference for us if we are looking for something or wanted to point somebody in the right direction, if they can just come up with maybe the 3 things or whatever that they do most often that we would know it was that particular organization. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, this is Anita. I have a question. Okay, so what do you want to know about things within the organization? DSC, EDI, and then, so I'm not sure what you mean by that. So are you choosing one of those that you want to know about, or can we choose all of those? So what specifically, what did you mean?
Hi, Anita. This is Carrie. Actually, exactly what I wanted to have a specific question about one of them. Do you have questions about all 3? Or what? All 3 of them will be represented on the phone call.
Yeah, so all 3. So what do you want to know?
They want maybe what questions you might have before that phone call happens so they can be prepared with a presentation.
Okay, okay, that's exactly what I meant. Okay. So I just wasn't sure which.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
And if you don't think of anything, this is Carrie, if you don't think of anything right now, but think of something later on tonight or tomorrow, please don't hesitate to email me, and I can forward it on to them. And I'm just jotting down some notes that are coming through in the chat box. So great questions coming through, guys. And Melissa, thank you for sharing that link for the Parent Institute brochure. So if you guys haven't seen that, open your chat box there and you'll see she just shared the link. All right. And that is it for the overall sharing tonight. Any questions before we move to the post-test? All right, let's move on to question 1.
QI is an acronym for quite interesting. True or false? All right, question 2. Parent Institute is free for families to participate in. True or false?
Oh, I'm sorry. I lost the PowerPoint. It just disconnected somehow. This is Anita. So hang on just a second. I'm trying to get back on there. Okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind. So hang on just a second because let me catch up here. 1 second. So I still haven't gotten to 1, so hang on.
And then, Anita, we did ask question 2. So if you want to answer 2 as well.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. I went and got distracted with the link, and so then the PowerPoint was gone. So.
No problem.
Okay, so now to yeah, hang on just a second. Let me get to 2. I didn't realize you guys were done with that one. Okay, I'm catching up.
All right, question 3. Currently, Illinois Hands and Voices is our fiscal agent for God by Your Side. True or false? All right. Question 4. Is the Guide by Your Side logo and the Hands and Voices logo on the same document? Voices logo should be larger than the Guide by Your Side logo. True or false? All right, and last question. There are 4 FEO events planned to happen between the February and March. True or false? All right, I'm going to recording.